several times in each chapter, we see how helpless Krishna is. We find weakness lording over strength exactly because it is weak. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is an epic struggle, and Krishna is the struggler. It all tugs at your heartstrings. It's actually a song, as much of melancholy as of wisdom. And that's the reason I love the Gita.
So thank you for organizing this session. So talking about Bhagavad Gita is important. So I was just reading about one American naturalist named Henry Thoreau. He says that every morning I bathe my intellect in the stupendous philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, in comparison with which our modern world and its literature seems trivial. So I think that Western world has acknowledged the importance of Bhagavad Gita a bit more than Indians have. I may be wrong on this, but that's my one observation.
You are right. When something is just too close to you, you just somehow lose measure of its importance. Because the Gita happens to be a commonplace thing in India, a household name in India, therefore it is evident that it has ceased to mesmerize Indians. Familiarity, someone said, breeds contempt. So, yeah. If not contempt, then at least indifference. If you become familiar, too familiar to greatness, greatness ceases to dazzle. The West encounters the Gita with relatively fresh eyes. The West does not rush to worship the Gita. It says, wow, here we have a piece of text. Literature, let me look at it objectively, afresh. And when you look at Gita that way, that's when it reveals its riches to you. I've been lucky in that regard. I could play with the Gita because I was not introduced to the Gita in a traditional way. Nobody told me that you should go and take a bath before touching the Gita, or that you should sit or squat facing one particular direction if you are reading the Gita, or that you should not be lying in your bed while reading the Gita. I have done all of that. There have been nights when I have dozed off with the Gita lying on my chest. I have not read the Gita in any kind of structured or sequential way. I would just open the book randomly and allow the verses to captivate me. I've also not felt obliged to go by the conventional meanings of the verses. So it helps if you can look at the world or anything with unconditioned eyes. If you approach something with predetermined respect, you lose the thing. When you turn something into organized religion, you lose touch with its underlying beautiful philosophy. So, Gita became a small part of a huge religious complex for Indians. For the West, it didn't turn into religion. It remained philosophy. And that's why the West seems to be able to penetrate relatively deeper into the Gita. You named Thoru. There are several other examples. And we have more examples coming up every decade. India, that does not quite seem to be happening. See, the Gita is not tradition. You have been with the Hindi course as well. You very well know that the Gita is an active destroyer of convention, tradition, myth, belief, such things. And that aspect of the Gita has hardly ever been brought out. If you see what Arjun stands for, Krishna is representing an attitude that can very truthfully be called as very modern. No? And because modernity first came to the West, therefore the West is naturally more likely to resonate more closely with the Gita.
So, what I've observed that people here are afraid of condemning or saying anything against Gita, even if they don't feel right about it. Whereas in West, for example, Jean-Paul Sartre, he started condemning that, not condemning, but he said that I didn't like the fact that Krishna was pushing Arjun to fight, though he corrected himself later. But I was saying that Sartre
Critiquing.
didn't think that, yes.
Critiquing. He was critiquing.
Yes. So he was not afraid of critiquing because
Yes.
he didn't take
Yes.
Gita to some kind of
Yes. The same thing I found myself in the same situation. I recall that many a times. So I would pick up a particular verse and vividly remember one day my father was on the dining table and I go rushing to him and I say, "Ye to koi baat nahi hui." And I was pointing at a particular verse. What is this written? What is Krishna saying here? Ye to koi baat nahi hui. Those were my words. Ye to koi baat nahi hui. So I was lucky. I could have that freedom to openly dissent against even Krishna. And had I not had the right to dissent, I would also not have the right to love. Both require freedom, no? There can be no dissent without freedom, and there can be no love without freedom. So Gita can be read only in freedom. When you make the Gita a part of your religious complex, when you turn it into an obligatory reading, then there is no freedom.
So talking about that, from verse 1, I took two inferences about that. I would like to share it with you.
Yes.
So Dhritarashtra, the scripture starts with a blind man's question. I mean, that is rightfully a good thing, because only a blind man should ask a question. A person who sees, I mean, he won't have any requirement to ask anything, and hence there would be no need of a scripture. Second thing is, Dhritarashtra was blind, and it is seen that his sons were all behaving blindly. It seems as if in Ishavasya we say fullness gives rise to fullness. The reverse of that is happening. Blindness gives rise to blindness. Only a blind man can reproduce 100 kanfals. I mean 100 children.
Kabir Sahib says, "Andha andhe thaliya."
Yes. Then from verse 4, I think,
and if you want to extend the whole thing a bit, when the very genesis of the battle was in those words of Draupadi that pointed at the same thing.
He said, "Andhe ka beta andha." She said, "Andhe ka beta andha."
That's what exactly you are saying.
Yes.
So you take all of that together, and it's all quite full of symbolism and significance.
So in verse 4, actually, when you see two parties fighting, suppose two parties are fighting, generally you will find that one party is, condemning the other, bad things about other. But here we see a strange thing. Duryodhana is instead praising Pandavas. That is a strange discrepancy which I found.
Because these are not two parties fighting each other. This is one party fighting the truth. Duryodhana wouldn't have been found in that kind of trembling condition were he facing the Pandavas sans Krishna. It is the presence of Krishna on that side that is making Duryodhana go so unhinged. The words are utterly loose.
So I remember that even in chemical equations, even in science, we said that there are two chemicals, but there is the requirement of a catalyst. Catalyst here is Sri Krishna. Catalyst is not an active participant in the battle, in the reaction, but catalyst is something whose presence is mandatory for the reaction to happen. So Sri Krishna is something like a catalyst, I feel.
You could say that. You could even say that Krishna is the very laboratory within which the reaction is taking place. A catalyst is just an enabler. Krishna here is more than an enabler. He is the very foundation on which all this is happening. But that's another level of description. What you have said is just all right.
And final thing, so if I ask you, or if I may ask you, can you name one person, one fighter who is the biggest fighter in Pandavas? Who will that be?
Fighter in what sense? Skill, experience, what sense?
Yes, if I ask who is the biggest fighter in Pandava group, then who would you name?
Arjun.
Yes. Now everybody will say like that. But if you look at verse number 4, Duryodhana takes the first name of Bhim, not Arjun. Duryodhana takes the first name of Bhim, but not Arjun.
That's because Bhim was leading the army from that side.
Okay.
Bhim is Bhishma's counterpart from the Pandav side.
Okay.
So that's the reason.
So what I thought is maybe because you need somebody like Bhim who can easily be bondaged in a woman's in wife's promise.
You could say that, or you could say that when it comes to a personal center, Duryodhana was not too likely to face Arjun in the battle. There were others who were going to take Arjun on, right? You would have Bhishma, you would have Drona, then Karn. These were the people who were going to match Arjun in archery. Duryodhana would have a personal duel with Bhim, and Duryodhana knew it was coming, and it indeed did come, right? So you could say that that's the reason Duryodhana is more likely to remember Bhim. See, it's like if you are an opening batsman. When you look at the 11 players on the other side, you are most likely to look first at their opening bowler, because he's the one you are going to face and dread, right? As an opening batsman, why would I think too much about, let's say their spinner? Opening batsmen hardly get to face spinners. So, but then I know that the pitch would be fresh and raw, and that tall opening bowler, he is going to have a good go at me. So if I am to talk of one face as representing the opposing team, I would name their opening bowler. So that kind of a thing. But here, even that is probably not applicable. It's just that Bhim is leading the side.
Yes, even Vedanta also says that we look at our counterpart in the world. We always find out from the entire view. We always find which is my dual counterpart.
That's the nature of the ego. Yes.
Yes, that is being explained. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.